That was one of the worst cartoons I've ever seen in my entire life. That was worse than anything I've ever reviewed, anything I've ever seen in my entire life. Velma is better than that. I would watch Velma 10 times over instead of that. Look, I just finished this web series called Porkchop and Flatscreen. The reason why it has some significance to me and probably a lot of other people is because of the fact that this used to be an Ed's World like level cartoon back in the day. Ems used to be pulling like literally numbers like 68 million views on his animations for his episodes of Porkchop and Flatscreen, not to mention his non-canon episodes, which also got similar number counts, similar view counts, and also not to mention his secondary channel called Nuts and Guts, or Nuts versus Guts, which has videos that also has tens of millions of views from over a decade ago. So of course, since it has so many views, it's completely possible that you, my members, are the ones who probably, if you're around my age and you've been watching a lot of webtoons, cartoons for a long time, you might have seen it in between like BFDI, ASDF movies, Ed's World, you know, stuff like that, and other random little cartoons that came out like 10 years ago. You might have seen this cartoon, but I then reviewed it because the first time I reviewed it, I didn't exactly remember what it was called or where it was or or if it even existed. So I searched for hours to find it, and finally I found Porkchop and Flatscreen. So then I dedicated a lot of time to sitting down and watching it. I watched it like twice because I wrote a review once that wasn't that good, and then I did the review, and at the time I really liked it, so then I made the video. That video underperformed like hell because of where I was at the time. I was not at all. I was making gaming videos, and then I made a freaking review. I'm in a way better spot to actually review something like Porkchop and Flatscreen, and especially in a more interesting way. So in this way, it's kind of doubly nostalgic. One, I literally saw this webtoon as a kid, and two, I reviewed this. This is one of the first cartoons that I've ever reviewed, like back in the day. The original video is linked in the description, but these are just my immediate thoughts after seeing it. It is horrible. Let me explain shortly as to why it's horrible. I'll be more in depth and way less crude in my actual review. That's why this is for members only, and this is just so you can get my quick thoughts on this. So one, the comedy is just terrible. A lot of the time this show tries to be serious, but it's also a lot of the time trying to be funny. But the issue with the comedy is that it constantly reuses the exact same kinds of jokes, and these jokes are all sexualized in nature. They're gooner like jokes. They're like jokes that they're jokes that are in like harem animes, or like those isekai animes where he's like surrounded by a ton of women or whatever. That's the level of jokes that we have in this show, except there's also, for some reason, a ton of times where characters just get their genitals crushed or damaged or something. I'm not playing. Like, girls will get their crotches like kicked, cut, stomped on. It'll get their pubes ripped out and all this other weird crap. And I mean, it's like constant. It happens all the time. All the time. I mean it all the time. There's literally not a minute that goes by in the show. I'm not playing. I sound insane, but I'm not playing. There's not a minute that goes by in this show where some character is not having some kind of sexualized reference to themselves, or comparing their boob sizes to another character, or comparing their, they literally call it a taco in the show, a woman's crotch area. Are you kidding me? This is vulgar and disgusting, okay? I hate sex jokes. I hate sex jokes. I hate this show. I hate this show so much. This show is actually gross. But they'll have weird scenes. Like I remember one scene in like episode 4 where at the end, like one of the characters gets her pubic hair ripped out, and that's funny, I guess. I guess that's kind of funny, huh? Ha ha ha. A woman character gets her pubic hair ripped out. Hilarious. That is so funny. And then there are too many instances that I can count, but I swear to you, it is a fetish. It is definitely some kind of fetish. It has to be. It has to be some kind of weird fetish that this guy enjoys, because I mean it. Literally in every single episode, there are at least 4 times where a character gets their genitals crushed or damaged or something. Or their area of their genitals getting damaged or crushed. And 90% of the time, it's a female character. This makes me think it's a fetish. And one of the characters named Queen Morgan, Spider Queen, whatever the hell, who gives a fuck? She gets her genitals crushed and she likes it. That's her fetish. She likes getting kicked in the groin. She loves that. So obviously this has to be some kind of fetish. I literally sound like I'm tweaking, but I'm so fucking mad at this cartoon. This cartoon actually sucks. 2, the story is ass cheeks. It is butt cheeks. So not only do you have to deal with literally a perverted joke every 8 seconds, and as a person, as a Christian, and just as a person who doesn't like sexual jokes, I hate this cartoon. There's literally a sexual joke that is the same, that he literally reuses jokes all the time, just over and over. Even if you found sex jokes funny, or sexualized humor, or if you found like sexualized slapstick humor funny, whatever the fuck that is, even if you found that funny, he reuses the jokes so many times that they're just dead. They die. They die after like 2 episodes. And the weird thing is that the first 2 episodes in isolation are not that bad. The first 3 episodes, I'll say, in isolation, not that bad. There's like one crotch hitting episode. There's like one crotch hitting joke per those 3 episodes. Not that bad. If you go anything past episode 4, it just goes downhill. Okay, so I want to talk about story wise. I'm not getting into specifics right now. Okay, that's for my review, and I'll be far more elegant in my review. That's why, you know, you members are here so you can see the early content, my early thoughts, whatever. I don't care. Okay, the story is terrible. The story is horrible. It's so bad. The priorities are horrible. So tell me why we, instead of the show showing us that these characters, showing us where they originate from and telling us where they originate from, it just fucking tells us. Like in episode 2, which is actually episode 4, or labeled as episode 4, even though it makes more sense as episode 2. I don't know what MZ was thinking. What the fuck was this guy thinking? He was on fucking crack. Enjoying that white shit constantly as he was writing this shit. This show sucks. Tell me why he decides to just tell us information about the characters instead of fucking showing it in his show. For some reason, okay, so let me give you some context. There's a guy with white hair who's super long, like Polar from JoJo's, named Nut. Okay, this guy is a demon. He hates Bobby, who is an angel. They have some beef, but for the entire runtime of the show, we never learn what their beef is, even though it's central to multiple plots, and even though it's important. They never get over it. They never get over their beef, but we don't understand that. And Bobby wants to hide his angel wings, and Nut lives in a fucking junkyard. So clearly, these guys are trying to hide their powers, because Nut cannot be a reasonable part of society. He's a demon. Whenever this guy gets cut, whenever the guy gets cut, he can use his blood as a weapon. That's such a cold power, by the way. He gets cut, the blood splurts out, and it becomes like a shield around his body. That's fire, but it's barely ever used, by the way. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we have these 2 entities from different afterlives, but we're never ever explained on what they actually are. It's not like we don't know if Bobby died or something. We don't know if Nut died at some point or something. We don't know any of that. And then mid-story, for whatever reason, Nut like infects Bobby with like some kind of demon virus or something. And then what happens is that after the virus takes hold, it fucks up Bobby's wings and he gets like these cool ass demon wings. But after that happens, Nut reaches into his chest and pulls out the shard that he implanted earlier. And this is Bobby, not Bobby, Bobby. Gender bent Bobby. This is a gender bent version of Bobby. And for a few episodes, she's completely separated from Bobby. She's just not Bobby. But then later, just inexplicably, by like episode 36 or something, they're both like, or 37, they're both like one and the same. They're like in the same body. I don't know why. He can just transform into Bobby whenever he wants. He can just do that. And then there's some weird fucking lore about how like Bobby, gender bent Bobby, I'm gonna call her Bobina, just so it's not confusing. There's some weird lore about how Bobina killed Nut or something. We learn literally nothing about this. Nothing at all. We don't learn a single thing about this. We don't learn anything. I promise you, nothing, nada. Look, I guarantee you that MZ probably made a lot of like little animations like, oh, ask this question, I'll answer it. That's stupid. Just tell us what we need to know in the show. What are you thinking? You had the potential to write a show for tens of millions of people and make it good and interesting and make sense, but you just didn't do that. Instead of making it actually make sense, you decided to rely on a little series called Ask PCFS. And I think this shit has like 100+ episodes. And guess what? For this review, I'm not watching that shit. I'm not watching any of that. I'm sticking to the canon stuff. And besides, the canon stuff is so bad already, I don't even want to know what the hell the non-canon stuff is. And there's like 300 non-canon episodes. I'm not watching like 300 non-canon episodes that have nothing to do with the story. I'm not doing that. You got me. Actually, you You must think I want to kill myself or something if I'm gonna go on ahead and suffer through that. I'm not doing that. Okay? I'm just not doing that. Next issue, the characters are all unlikable. They all suck. There were a lot of people in the comments of Porkchop and Flatscreen being like, I love these characters are awesome. They're all assholes. Mia, the ninja girl, Mexican girl who's brown, the brown Mexican girl. One of the worst things that she does is blackmail Bobby. I mean the dude Bobby, not his gender bent version. Stupid, right? Why do they have the same name if they're different people? They're different people. They act differently. One of the worst things that she does is blackmail Bobby into getting into a relationship with Ian. I'm supposed to like this character. She blackmails this guy by saying, oh, I'm gonna release your secret that you're an angel to everyone in the school if you do not get in a relationship with my best friend. That's bad for both her best friend and the dude, who by the way is interested in another girl. This other girl who's named Kim, first name Mina. I'm gonna call her Kim because Mia and Mina are way too similar. I'm gonna get those confused. Listen, Kim, she's like this Asian cat girl, but not really cat girl. Like, who gives a fuck, okay? She's this Asian Korean girl, whatever, okay? She believes that nobody wants her or nobody is interested in her, even though Bobby is interested in her, but he's being blackmailed currently to be with Ian, and it phrases this as if this is like a good thing. Like, this is something that we're supposed to be rooting for. Blackmailed relationship, really? He's forced into this shit. He doesn't want to be here. He just doesn't want to be here. He wants to go and be with Kim, but he can't because he's being blackmailed. Ian is a piece of shit person as well, because, well, she's not really a piece of shit, okay? She's just a really unlikable person. She's extremely stupid, she's extremely gullible, and every single time, like, something is going to happen, like, someone's going, like, a massive event, like, for example, there's just, and I'll get into that in a moment. Okay, I'm not gonna get into that, but Ian is stupid, she's very unlikable, and her chemistry with Bobby is complete shit, okay? So, she's a really flat character as well. Like, there's really not much to her. Like, aside from the fact that she thinks that boys are, like, attractive or whatever, which all the characters for some reason, by the way, are gay. I don't know why all of them are some kind of bisexual. Why? Why is everyone that? Maybe one or two characters, okay. Everyone's bisexual, really? Why is everyone like that? Why is it in these gooner ass shows everyone's kind of gay? Kim is unlikable because she's insane. She's a psychopath. She thinks that nobody likes her, so there's multiple times where she's like gonna jump off a bridge or whatever the fuck, okay? But one of the most annoying things about Kim was when she initially kidnapped Bobby, because she learned from this guy named Holloway, which I'm not gonna talk about here, I'll talk about that in my official video, but this guy named Holloway can kiss somebody and figure out who in their heart they love. And so he kissed Bobby and learned that he loves Kim. So he told Kim that Bobby loves her. So and he also gave her the blackmail note so that she can give it to Ian or show Ian like, hey, this relationship is fake, to break them up, because Holloway wanted to break them up because Holloway, I assume, was interested in Ian. That's why he wanted to do it. And so naturally, instead of Kim simply waiting the next day and being like, hey Ian, I want to talk to you and show you something, and then showing her the blackmail, and then she could be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's messed up. I can't believe Mia did this. No. Instead, what she does is that she kidnaps Bobby and ties him up on the roof and gets her weird bully gang to beat the shit out of Bobby. And Bobby, the person that she wants to be dating, the person that likes her, and also Ian for whatever, and also Ian, because why not? None of this had to happen. Literally none of this had to happen. It just didn't have to happen. All that you had to do was have a conversation with this person. That's it. Nobody is likable, including Bobby. Tons of bullshit happens to Bobby, but he's not a likable guy. The reason why he's with Ian is because of the blackmail, and also because he feels like she's so weak that she'd just start crying or whatever the fuck. Or she'd be really sad if he left. So that's why he stays with her. It's toxic. It's just so toxic. He wants out of the relationship bad. He doesn't want to be in it because he's not into Ian. But he stays because he emotionally feels like he has to. That's like textbook toxic shit. That's not good, and I'm not going to cheer on a relationship like that. That doesn't make any sense at all. Man, this show is This show was so bad. Tonal confusion. The tone was all over the place, and it was so cinematic for no reason a lot of the time. It would have this like over dramatized like every moment is super deep, every fight is super deep, every fight has this mega deep moment. Unnecessary padding. We don't need some deep reason for a fight to happen every single time. I don't give a fuck about your allegories half the time. Half of the time they literally mean nothing and they're not important. Prime example would be when Morgan was initially introduced in like episode 8 or something. Queen Morgan initially introduced in episode 8. She had a whole thing where she went on a monologue about how like in order to be in power you have to be in control of yourself or something like that, and that came up like one time ever, and that's not part of her character at all. It was just like a one-time moment in the episode. Oh my gosh, and the tonal confusion is so bad. What they'll do is that they'll have a super serious fight, or there'll be some really bad stuff happening, and then there'll be like a weird sexual joke. When I say every second there's like some weird sex joke, I mean it. This show is so fetishy. I just gotta talk more about that. Every single time the author gets a chance to draw the imprint of some female's genitalia, he will do it. If a girl has her legs spread, no matter how baggy your clothes are, if it's jeans, he will draw the imprint of her vagina every time. Every single time. Why? Why are you doing that? Here's what I personally think. I've talked about this in a Discord server one time, and it really did get me to think. It really did get me thinking. When you have a fetish, or you often sexualize your work privately, whenever you start making something publicly, you end up doing that automatically without even realizing it. This is why even in in-between frames that you don't really even see often, you see that MZ has detailed the character's vaginal region, even though just a simple line would have been fine and it would have saved time. It's because MZ is just so used to drawing stuff like this, stuff that's titillating to him, that he just unconsciously puts it into his work. It's disgusting. This guy's a fiend. This guy's a gooner. This guy was a gooner before the word gooner existed. Fiending for freshly 18. By the way, every character that gets super sexualized is like freshly 18. Perfectly 18. I hate it whenever characters, they're in high school, by the way, so everyone just happens to be 18 in a high school. You know how unlikely that is? Super unlikely. That is extremely unlikely. So everyone in this high school setting is freshly 18. Perfect. And the reason why I hate that so much is because if the age of consent, you're only doing that because the age of consent is 18. If it was any lower, you just choose that number. Sickening. Freaky. Weird. It's weird. This is a degenerate cartoon, and no one should be subjected to watching this shit. This cartoon made me so mad. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. This is worse than Terrible Mouse. This is worse than Pretty Blood. This is worse than like Control-Alt-Delete. This is worse than VG Cats. This is worse than any webcomic I've ever read. This is worse than anything I've ever seen. Any movie, anything. Oh my gosh, what else can I talk about? Deus Ex Machinas. This is one of the last things I'll talk about. The Deus Ex Machinas in this show are crazy. They're so bad. There's this one character named Mouse who, no matter what, if the characters are in peril, and it seems like there's no way out, or there's no other characters that can help them, Mouse will always, always, every single time, come in and save the day. And usually, she'll use a power that she wasn't established with having. A prime perfect example of this is the Goose fight between Kim and Goose. Goose was beating the fuck out of Kim. She broke all of her bones, but then Mouse came out of nowhere and saved Kim and flew her away. And Mouse also has this healing power where if she heals somebody, then she takes in the injury that she just healed that person. So like, for example, if you had a broken arm and Mouse healed you, then her arm would become broken. But she went into her super sun and moon form that she never uses again, by the way. Mouse can just go in sun and moon form for no reason. I don't know why, it's fucking stupid. But anyway, man, this is pissing me off. She can, and then she heals Mina. Perfectly fine. But she does not take in any of the injuries. So this means that all she really had to do was go into this transformation and she would never had to have ever taken these injuries. This is so stupid. This is the dumbest shit. This is the dumbest fucking show I've ever watched in my life. I'm going crazy. This show is ass. Why did I give this any props? I gave this props in my original review. What the fuck is wrong with me? Listen, another perfect example of Mouse being complete bull is the arc where Mia and I was about to mix up Mia and Mina. Hey, authors, if you're listening to this, if you're a member and you make works of fiction, do not, no matter any circumstance, make two fictional characters that you have a name that sounds similar. Don't do it. Do not do it. It is annoying, and people watching are going to mix their names up. That's just gonna happen. It doesn't matter how different they look. It's just gonna happen. But anyway, I'll give you two more examples. Another good example is in like episode, I want to say 11. It's like, no, not 11. I want to say like episode 13-ish. So episode 11-ish, right? Where Mia died because Mia died after she saved Ian, who was killed by Morgan. So Mia drowned or something like that. And then she ended up in this place with a life and death door. So she escaped into the life door, but she went back because she wanted to make sure Ian was fine. So somehow she went, I'm just not even gonna question it right now. Somehow she went into Ian's death room where it says life and death, but in a different language. And then she grabbed Ian because Ian was knocked out in the death room. So then she started running to the life door, which was slowly closing, and it was about to close. But then Mouse, in her sun form, came out of nowhere and saved them. By the way, Mouse was never, this is a new dimension. This is a new power that Mouse just has. So anytime the author is in a pickle, he will just summon Mouse to save our characters with the new power. It doesn't matter. Every time. Every time I saw her, I wanted her to die so badly. I wanted her to die. Every time. I wish that she was killed by episode 30. She is one of the worst characters because anything tense that happens in this show, anything possibly bad, is canceled out by Mouse. Nothing bad ever happens in the show. Editing me, I just want to intercept real quick and add the fact that Mouse doesn't even know our main character. She's not like one of their good friends or anything. And in fact, she's more allied with the enemies like Bobby, Chuck, and the big guy without one of his arms. She's allied to Nut, really. So since she's an enemy, you wouldn't think that she'd be on our good guys' asses constantly trying to save them, right? But no, she just is anal about it. It's like, and she'll even be in situations where she's super far away or doing something, and then she just suddenly goes into sun form, like she senses one of our main characters are in danger and she has to go out and then go save them. It's so bullshit. It's horrible. Perfect example, episode 40. I want to say it was episode 40 where Ian tried to join Nut and his gang of punks. Now, why Ian wants to join Nut in the gang of punks, even though she knows that Bobby hates those guys, and those guys have literally tried to kill her in the past. That has happened, and also have tried to kill Bobby in the past. Those are things that happen. But she goes back to these guys to ask them, hey, can I join you? I want to become stronger so I'm not soft anymore, because Ricky, which is some other guy, like trying to train them. So basically, because Nut is fucking evil and he's literally a demon, he's like, hey, you're either going to crush these 1 cat or these 5 cats. Choose, pick or choose, each one, either one. Ian eventually pushes herself because she's so soft. She's like, no, I'm gonna harden up. And then she decides to kill the 1 cat, but it doesn't happen because actually a split second happened and Mouse came in and swooped in and saved the cat. No fucking consequences in this show. Nothing bad ever happens to anyone in this show. Nothing bad. Nothing bad happens to anyone. And we're supposed to take this shit seriously? This is one of the worst shows I've ever seen in my entire life. That's why I'm so mad. Usually I don't watch shows and when I was watching Terrible Mouse, I wasn't mad. I was just bored and kind of annoyed. When I was watching Pretty Blood, I got mad. But watching this shit, I'm mad. And it's so bad because it's 43 episodes long. 43 episodes. It took me like, I decided that because it's Friday and I have nothing to do today, I'm just going to spend my time watching this episode of Porkchop and these episodes of Porkchop and Flatscreen, so I can have a little head start on my review when I start writing it. That's what I decided to do, and that took me like maybe 5 hours. Maybe 5+ hours. I'm gonna say 5+ hours. So 5+ hours down the drain watching this piece of shit webtoon so then I can spend some more time writing it. That's why this is worse than Terrible Mouse. That's why this is worse than Pretty Blood. Because it's so long. It is so long. And it just gets worse. It just gets worse as it goes. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I've already said it many times. I cannot overstate how bad the jokes are. The jokes are so bad. The jokes, whenever something isn't funny in media, unlike something serious, if something serious fails in media, you can either 1, laugh at it, or 2, understand the attempt and still rock with the piece of media. Or 3, understand the attempt and respect what was trying to be done there. When a joke fails, it's just painful and dull and boring. Every single joke that fails in a cartoon for me is like a punch in the face. It just is. Unless the cartoon is generally already good and it just has a few jokes that don't hit, every single joke that fails is just like, why the fuck am I here? Because if you're a failed comedy and you're trying to be funny, you're boring. There's nothing else to you. And a lot of this show is trying to be comedic and it doesn't work because of its over-reliance on sexualized humor. Creepy ass gooner humor. The only people who would find the show funny are people who goon every fucking day. People who can't stop gooning. People who can't take their hand off the goon stick. Get away from the lotion, MZ. Get away from the lotion. Stop. It's not too late. Turn to God, please. Turn to God, please. I'm done. This rant is over. I'm not editing any of it. I hope you members enjoyed this, and and the actual review is not going to be this mean or this scathing. It's going to be far more in depth. I'm going to give credits to MZ where it's due because by then I'll have mellowed out. But this is just my immediate reaction after finishing the show. It is bad. Don't watch it. I promise you, you won't enjoy it. Unless you're a pervert. If you're a pervert who likes cock and ball torture, you will enjoy the show. If you're not a pervert, don't watch the show. That's all I have to say. Goodbye, everybody. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, I bless you. And go to the gym if you just need to hear that.